What the hell is up, ladies and gentlemen? I'm Pronogo, and I'm bringing you a cast of Cosmonarchy. We love having castovers on the channel, so here's another one. This match is a two-game set here between Hamster and Veek7. It was played on the 26th of July, and it features Rageslave and Rageslave. Those are the two maps that we'll be playing today. Let's see what ends up happening. Now, this time around, we are going to get vertical spawns with Hamster as the Celadon Terran in the bottom left, and Veek7 as the Vivid Red Protoss in the top left. Or is it just red? I'm going to guess red. Yeah, okay. All right, saved, boys, saved. 100% color guessing accuracy. Now, Veek7 played random for this set. Vanquish the Veek, that's what Hamster says. A classic move. Hamster, unfortunately, for all the homies that love Hamster, and I am one of them, I do love Hamster. I think Hamster's a great addition to the community. Vanquish, okay, I guess Arbus isn't here as an obs as well. That's funny. Hamster was sent out of the tourney by Nebline in a TVP matchup where Hamster was not able to make the cut, but this match is back in time from that, so maybe we get to finally see how Hamster plays against Protoss. Even though this is an older game, and I believe the matches that Hamster and Nebline played was last week, so I guess it probably would have been around the 15th or 14th or something like that, maybe a little bit later than that. Would have been a potential option there. So Hamster obviously did end up playing against Nebline a while ago, but this time around we're seeing, Protoss. We're seeing Hamster take on Protoss, and this is more modern than what I've seen when he played against, for example, Arbus Budesh at various points in history. So it's funny that Arbus is here as the witness. My favorite 2v2 opener. Yeah, Zork's Rush is actually pretty good for 2v2s. It's kind of interesting what kinds of things you can get up to in team games. Anyway, Hamster is going to scout his opponent and see that it is a simple gateway opener. There's a little bit of worker harassment happening over here as the gas harvesting continues. But Hamster scouting his opponent first. That is not going to be Veek's fate. Veek's luck is a little bit worse off here. Hamster using the higher HP pool of the Mason compared to the Scribe to kind of bully those workers and do a little bit of light tickling there, with the Vulture going straight towards the enemy base. So I don't hate this idea. I also wouldn't hate it if Hamster decided to go scout the other direction to pick off the worker before it could get too much valuable intel. Although in this particular case, I guess it is significant to see that the Fulcrum is going down before a quarry, right? Second Fulcrum before quarry. That does feel to me like maybe something that you got to watch out for. Now, the mine being laid, it's not really that significant. This isn't like in Starcraft 1 where the mines do damage. As you can see, they stun and then slow afterwards. And that is going to be the limit of their power. But hey, you know what? That Hierophant pulling that stun as well as the second Vulture arrives to put down another mine is not bad. You get a little bit of HP damage before the healing comes in. So obviously that's something that's worth doing, I would say. But again, Veek is going to come over here, and he will see that there is no quarry coming down for extra workers for Hamsters. So it's one of those situations where, he's not going to have to worry too much about getting left in the dust as far as the worker count is concerned. Still one mine equipped here, but you can see Hamster hasn't put it down, so he's actually going to end up losing that Vulture with the mine, which is very unfortunate. He'll put some damage onto this Ecclesiast, which is not a bad idea, but nice body blocking from Veek here, just to confirm that the unit ends up dying. Now, the Ecclesiast is going to get stunned, but the Vulture shouldn't actually be able to do too much damage over here. Second one coming up, gonna lay a mine just to do a little bit of heckling there, and that kind of cuts off the retreat path, right? So as more Vultures come out of the Fulcrums, Veek is kind of isolated with his first couple gateway units, but his second gate is up, so he's gonna opt into the early skirmishes, clear that mine with a reinforcement Hierophant, and it looks like Hamster's cowed a little bit here, forced back. Not a bad situation to be in per se as the Protoss player, because now you can start thinking about adding more production or indeed a Nexus for an expansion. Maybe even an embassy, but not enough Vespene for that as Drakidans come out. Focusing onto the Hierophants right now. It might be the wrong target, considering, but the Ecclesiast is going to die next, and so now that's actually a pretty okay trade for the Terran. Losing the third Vulture makes it just okay as opposed to really good. We got to remember that the Hierophants cost a lot of Vespene. No mine laying really happened there, though, and that's probably one of the things that could have swung the fight in Hamster's sort of direction. Playing Minesweeper here with the Hierophants. They're very, very speedy. You got to watch out for that, though, because that's a great stun, getting all three of them for 3 seconds and then slowing them for an additional 3 after that. There goes one of the Hierophants. And you know what? The Drakidid comes in, but it just gets swept up anyway by that mine, so it's not going to be able to join in on the fight. And now we have a treasury coming down for the expansion, a scrapyard for a little bit of an extra punch with the Matadors. This is something that Hamster had been trying before in Neblim's set against him. You know, he tried to make the scrapyard work. It's not something we see too often, but Hamster is a crafty guy. He's a crafty kind of individual. Oh. All right, well, the Drakadin is going to get focused down here because everything else got stunned, and so that is a little bit awkward for Veek. But at this point, the Vulture count is much more low than it maybe could be, partially due to the fact that that scrapyard was made, right? But we've got a second quarry coming. The worker count is going to start to balloon for our Terran player, the Embassy, and the Nexus coming down, but they're both late relative to the 3 worker queues that Hamster now has equipped himself with. Going to go for that macro side as I get an email notification. Classic move. Somebody emailing me saying that they just signed up to the coffee page, which you can donate to if you want. And it's a great way to support project development. Certainly takes the lightens the load, so to speak. Speaking of, those mines helping out massively here for our Terran player. Hamster going to go ahead and use the Matadors to focus down individual Drakadins, and they are going to take a brunt of damage before they can actually falter. 6 health left on that Drakadin in the back. Sure, the shields are going to start to regenerate, but now you got the mine back in, and not actually able to focus it down. We are going to need to see more production out of our Terran player to withhold it, but you know, as long as he remains even on military, or in this case, he's actually behind in terms of military count, but like he's not dying is basically what I'm trying to say. He's actually ahead, right? He's up by 4 workers, and that's going to continue to climb. And so, you know, the embassy is done now, but you have to make a witness usually, a perfunctory witness at some point. That's actually not being done just yet, as Veek wants to catch back up in the worker count. Goliath coming out. We've got Blackjack and Matador coming out of these scrap yards there, 2 of them now. I would love to see a Palladium to mix in with this, but that was like probably the juiciest mine hit I've ever seen. I think that must have been 2 mines. No way that 1 mine could have done all that. Remember, one of these Drakadins is very wounded, but Hamster kind of taking the bait here, charging in, trying to kill the Hierophants. These are deceptively durable units. Not going after the low HP Drakadin either, so gonna end up losing the Matadors. What has he got coming out of these productions? It's just 1 more Blackjack and 1 more Goliath. He can use his limited worker advantage that is now fled because he's skipped a couple of worker cycles there. Macro cycle's not always something that Hamster is strongest at. At least not as Terran. He was a fearsome Zerg, but not as much on the Terran side. Pretty acceptable Protoss as well, although I think he usually won not because of his macro, but more because of his ability to field interesting compositions, which is what he's trying to do as Terran, so you can see the style is still definitely there. But again, you just fall back with the Drakadin and prevent it from dying. That was actually pretty good targeting from Hamster, but he is going to start to hemorrhage. A lot of these Drakadins very, very wounded. You can tell that only, 2 of them are actually healthy, and so reinforcements are going to be sent on down for both players. But it's starting to swing in favor of the Terran. He's even going to go ahead and pop these last low HP Drakadins and start chunking the other one down to half. So very good stuff here for our Terran player, but he can't get too ambitious on this push, I think. I mean, he can try, but he's going to be ready to pull back at the slightest hint of danger. Instead, going to be barreling forward bravely and destroying the 2 wounded Drakadins. Strider's not having a good day of it. That Scribe was going to be down there to try to take the mineral-only Nexus, but instead he's got to come on back as the Ardent Authorities are coming online. But no Architects, it's instead going to be a Cantors. I feel like these units are nimble enough to try to avoid that, but if you do end up connecting with those, it can be pretty big. A Ministry for the 3rd base already starting in the Choke. A Stockade undoubtedly going to be for a Vestry add-on. We've already got a Star Pad for Ant-Seals. So I think Hamster is aware he's going to try to detect any witnesses, but it is going to be in a Cantor drop. We can see the Envoy being produced by the Embassy. That Warden is not long for this world, ends up getting canceled, but now the Focus Fire needs to come out for the Terran player. Blackjack's starting to fall. The Ecclesiasts end up dying. They give their movement speed boost as they end up falling. Warden will get 2 shots off before being destroyed, but there's no reinforcements in a readily available situation here, and the cliff advantage for Veek is going to give him a couple of parting shots on the way out. So, okay, after all of that, all is said and done. We do need that sustain, so the Vestry is being produced right now, and another Fulcrum coming on for a total of 4. I like the Goliaths mixed in with the Matadors, and actually, when the Blackjacks are able to connect with the enemy, they can be pretty powerful as ranged combatants, I would say, as far as those go. But here comes the Envoy, and the military is mostly home, so how quick is Hamster going to react to this? He's not paying attention to the mini-map. You can see him, he's going to get one opportunity to pull the Masons away before critical damage is sustained. And now he's going to come in here and try to heckle it just with the Blackjack and the Ant-Seal. That's going to be okay for protection, and he does have the units already set up over here, so he can mostly deal with that. especially since the Envoy needs to scoop up that Acantor before it dies. There are more military units in this general area, and one more shot would have done it, but the Acantor is able to escape for now. Gonna go ahead and fall back into the transport as the Envoy scoops away. And one blackjack just executes a low HP Mason out of frustration. I don't know what that's all about. Veek is up by, was up by, for worker counts anyway, but that is definitely not what you wanted to be seeing. 6 HP Goliath, going to be very vulnerable to another push, but Veek is just using this harassment as the opportunity to secure a further advantage in terms of his workers, right? So in terms of his macro, he's going to go ahead and take that extra base. Now the Ministry is done, you know, so that's like a little bit of a point in tempo, but there's Servitors, we've got an Architect for sieging, got all sorts of stuff here that Veek will be able to use. And Hamster, he's actually fallen completely idle with his production. He has got nothing coming right now as he waits for the money to make that Atlas. So he's going to gamble that he can actually hold the attack. But I'm looking at this and I'm thinking Veek is in a really commanding position. That Ministry got lifted, but wasn't told to leave, so that's awkward. If there was a Hierophant hero, it would be slowed even further, but no such thing. And no Phalanxes, right? Because no Palladiums. That is a situation that's going to make this really hard to hold. So Hamster, very, very vulnerable as of right now. This army is really all he's got. Going to desperately try to protect it with his Ancials, with their detection and their protection aura. So that's going so far so good, but remember that the drop is happening at the same time. The Acantor, 14 kills and counting. You chase down the Architect, sure, but your ground army needs to be elsewhere for defense. And I feel like that's going to be the capitulation. Down by half of the workers. You know, he's 35 workers in the hull. The Atlas is still being produced as of right now, but here comes the Acantor going to go ahead and unload for the ability to kill even more workers. And if this had just been, you know, responded to a little bit better in the early stages of the game, that would have definitely safeguarded Hamster from that follow-up, because there was no second Acantor made, right? And so the Envoy will finally be put down, but it's at what cost, right? And, you know, even though Veek is kind of kerfluffled a little bit with the way that he's setting up his next attack force, it's clear that I think he's done enough damage at this point. He's floating a lot of money, but he's done enough damage. He's going to go ahead and send the worker out to expand yet again, add some grand libraries. And yeah, I mean, his ground force kind of got cleaned up there, but a lot of it did end up surviving. So he's not really in a terrible position, even if he had lost all of his military, because Hamster wouldn't have been able to break through at the other end anyway. Nexus up here in the top right for the 4th base. And this base has landed, but is not actually going to be saturated anytime soon. You can tell. Tier 2 is done, but there's not really any way to actuate it, turn it into something where you're actually making use of the structures that Tier 2 provides. You can see Hamster considering his options, but he has so little in the way of minerals. I wouldn't mind going for mass air at this point, just because you have the Vespine surplus, but, well, Architects are on a move command, so that's a little bit awkward. 2 of them are going to get sniped before really much can be done with them. But you know what? I still think it's like, there's too much. Melee Architect, Arbu's having a laugh here, but it doesn't really matter at this point. I mean, you're looking at the economic deficit that their Terran player is trying to fight back in, and you can afford to do that. Yeah, losing all my Architects, and I still have enough Dracodons to A-move you. That's kind of the Protoss' dream world, having all these Striders. And yes, they do turn, unlike StarCraft 1 Dragoons. Can you believe that? We have the technology. Battle Workers are coming out, but it's not going to be enough. And yet another sign-up on coffee is the way to punctuate this game. As the Ministry starts to burn, it's not going to be saved this time around. Yeah, it's dead. See you, nerd. Gonna see if he can try to send him away. Hamster actually, he's holding on. He's stubborn. He's like, I'm gonna make the Apostles. Maybe I can get enough free units to pivot out of this, but I don't think it's gonna be possible. I think the Dracodon count is too high. He pops one of the Ancials, maybe both of them? I think maybe one of the other ones died in the Architect engagement earlier. But yeah, it's only a couple of Goliaths left, and there's Hierophants in here now as well to slow the attack rate, to enchant the attack rate of Veek's units, and GG is called as Veek secures the first match. And all right, well, you know, we have one more to cast, but I will say that that is a pretty good sign for Veek's Protoss. Remember, he is playing random, so even though he ends up scoring a dub here, that is a situation where it's not going to be the same matchup next time around. And since it's Rageslave, you're pretty much guaranteed to scout your opponent fairly fast. So unless it's like a 7-pool or something, I think we're going to be in for another game of at least that length. So stay tuned for that. We have achieved Game 2. Veek 7 here in the mid-right as I'm going to guess the Zinwaldite Brown Zerg. Holy shit, I'm good. And Hamster in the bottom left as the Celadon Terran, because he's always Celadon, makes my life a lot easier. So yeah, I've got 100% color guessing accuracy, but really I was only guessing 2 colors instead of 4. Pretty funny stuff. So Veek is going to be Zerg here. This is the race that he selected for Tyrant's Tail. As of right now, he still has to play against Arbuz Budesh in the lower bracket of that particular event. We'll be casting that match tomorrow. I'm recording this on a Wednesday, the 21st, and so yeah, we're going to be casting that one on Thursday, the 22nd, so pretty fun stuff there. I will say besides that we have some exciting stuff for just in general and planned as an update to the game. We are going to be seeing about making the tech pacing a little bit better, the eco pacing a little bit less slow. Oh my god, I've got a bunch of money, which is not exactly how it works currently, but it's close enough that even though I think when people say that now, it's a little uncharitable, it's not entirely false. There's a kernel of truth to that. And so, you know, ideally, you will also, like, it's weird because, okay, I'll give a little bit of a context for this discussion, right? Like, the Fulcrum openers that we're seeing out of Terran, I would like for those to be a possibility, just like I would like for the Hydrith opener to be a possibility, and I think it actually is. I've experimented with a couple of builds that involve Hydrith into Larvosk, and you open with Izira cores, so you save your Vespene, which is actually, you know, it's surprisingly effective, at least in ZVZ, to do that, because if your opponent is going Quaz, then they're going to have Zethra cores, which are just going to die to the Izzies. They can't stand to them. So pretty powerful stuff there. Pretty good stuff there. Now, I think it is pretty vulnerable to some kind of 7 pool, but I don't know what... I guess what you would do in that situation is probably just try to use your battle worker skills. But anyway, the Larvosk is done and the pool is coming up, and Veek has actually just canceled some workers that were in production, so you can tell that he wants to go for some kind of early aggro. The Vulture's already out, and since we were talking about the mech openers and stuff, the Fulcrum opener, again, I would like there to be dynamic openers, right? I would like it so that you don't have to be railroaded the way that maybe currently in the meta it feels like Zerg have to be railroaded, because that's the choices that people have done, where they always go Larvosk into pool or pool into Larvosk, and that's pretty much it. And, you know, I'm sympathetic to the fact that that feels kind of bad to be so limited in your choices. I get that for sure. Oh yeah, he's laying the burrow trap in case the vultures decide to come up, but there's a lot of mines being laid. This feels like a pretty good recipe for Hamster. But again, I want that choice to be scoutable, and I want the scaling to come online a little bit more, with a little bit more like ability to understand what's going on before it happens. But you know, there's always going to be an eye of the beholder kind of thing. Now, this is really good play from Veek, sort of sending out a couple of his Zeths at once, but that time he might have just underestimated how many mines were laid, so he's going to get sent back. Second Larvosk is nearly complete. He's making a couple of more Zethra cores. When you burrow in Cosmonarchy, your Zerg units regenerate twice as fast, and they already regenerate, I think, twice as fast as baseline Starcraft Zerg when out of combat. So it's a 2-second out of combat timer, and burrowing makes it even more speedy in terms of the actual HP regenerated per tick, so to speak. So 11 Zeths versus the 4 Vultures. But, you know, some of them are kind of showing their hand a little bit. And you got to watch out for this, because the Vultures will just kite you into infinity. I would love to see Veek get some Quasis for this ramp, but it looks like he's on the Zeth train. And the Vultures are just going to continue coming out. Hamster is in his element when he's spamming the Vultures. That's what he likes to do. We saw him do that in a 5-game set against Top Ramen. Very, very close stuff. You know, narrow defeat for him, where he was literally like one vulture click or a couple of vulture clicks away. Instead, it's going to be Vorvicors as the choice here so far, but Quasis have hatched, so there will be at least some ranged options. Hamster getting a little bit curious. He's going to go ahead and lay some mines on the ramp itself. Very ballsy. He's going to charge forward just to see if he can draw aggro. Nice stun there. It really slows a lot of them down. He's picked multiple Vorvicors basically for free now. Those are fairly expensive units. Uh-oh, he's got to watch out for that one, though. Oh, stunned by his own mines. And even Arbuz Budesh can't believe that. The mine drag working out wonderfully for Veek. And now he's got a lot of units that, you know, at this point, Hamster has to think about, how am I going to deal with this? He's transferred a bunch of workers over to his treasury back at home with the quarry coming online. And, you know, he's definitely going to have to fall back and lay that mine in an emergency position while the Cyclops try to cover him. But I feel like Veek is in a potential situation where he can just charge forward and beat him. He's got to watch out, though. The Cyclops splash damage is kind of his nemesis. He is fundamentally opposed to it from a game design perspective, which might make it seem like it's one of those things that tilts you easy. I'm not really sure about his psychological factor, like how that impacts or doesn't him. But you can't really get that quarry on the way out, and so a little bit of a kerfluffle as the Zeths and Vorvs engaged way faster than the Quasis were able to. So now he's trying to charge back in, but it is just not working for him. So he's going to have to saunter off away in another direction. And if we're looking at the speed, right, the move speed of 5 versus the move speed for the Cyclops of 5.75, it's like the Cyclops can definitely run circles around them. So, see, Arbus is going to type about Cyclops too. And so, yeah, trying to charge forward into that, it's not going to work out for the Zerg. I mean, when you have equivalent Cyclops to Quas, you're like outspending your opponent significantly. So you actually should win that as the Terran. Zorkaz is going to be the supportive choice. I think this is before people found out that Zerg can answer Cyclops spam with Bactylisks and really start crushing them. But it's one of those things that is a little bit... It's trepidatious on the timing, and yeah, I think this is before people discovered that anyway. Hamster is going to rock a star pad. The Zorka Shroud halfway done. Expansion almost complete. Worker counts dead even right now, thanks to those extra Larvosks in the main, helping Veek build extra worker production in general. And yeah, I mean, the Ancial is already coming out, so if it's going to be Lakizilisks, the Cosmonarchy equivalent of the Lurker, then that is going to prevent you from really being able to get as much mileage out of them as you wanted, because the detection's already here with the Ancial almost complete. It's 2 Fulcrum Cyclops spam. I'm not sure that Hamster will deviate from that just yet, but I would love to see Shamans mixed in with that personally, or certainly, you know, other mech units. Like, I think Cyclops peeling for Phalanxes is really good for sieging. But Veek doesn't have any static defense up yet, and it will be 5 Lakizilisks, so that is going to be an interesting choice, right? Like, how do you go about that? Treasury for the third base. Okay, Hamster wants to go for a more macro-oriented thing. He is adding more vultures. I think he wants a couple of mines to sort of lay in preparation for Veek to engage. He wants to maybe do some kind of soft contain over here. I like this game plan overall. I think this is going to be fine. Ancial can come over here and scout and see what's going on, and the Cyclops can prevent any sort of committal attack, because there's so many of them right now. But you know what? Veek is going to bite into it. Unfortunately, most of his Lakizilisks were still coming out of the rally, so that did not feel like it was as successful as he wanted. He traded so many units for just 3 Cyclops, and now he's going to lose the Lakizilisks as well. He is doing a lot of damage, but my god, man. He did not take that engagement very wisely, and now he's just reduced to only a couple of Zeths as well as the 2 Lakes. If Hamster decides to charge forward, he could do some serious damage to this worker line, at least deny mining. More Zeths are coming, but the Ancial will help reveal where those Lakes are. You can see them nice and clearly because of the way that the burrowed frame is. Just hitting some of the eggs for now, trying to dodge those spines. Remember, there's no sustain in this comp. The Ancial does shield it, but not by a crazy amount. And actually, not at all right now, because the Cyclops are kind of too far committed. And so now a lot of Zeths are going to die, but really, I think at this point, you know, Veek has been able to expel the Terran, who doesn't actually have that many military units. I don't know what Hamster was doing this time, but he's got a lot of money in the bank, and he hasn't actually spent it all. He's been busy trying to micro over here, and it's not really worked out for him. Now, he did, the micro that he did do really reduced the Zeth count to the point where now Hamster is not really in danger of a counterattack. He's got multiple Ancials. Sure, he's got low amounts of military overall, but he's getting the Palladium. So that's either Madrigal or Phalanx, most likely Phalanx. He's getting the Vestry on the Stockade, and he's going to go ahead and add a 4th Fulcrum as his third base lifts off. So as Veek is feeling like, okay, I can take my mineral-only third, that's what that's something Hamster's already doing with a little bit of a, well, 10 worker lead is not exactly little, but that's what you get when you're able to pressure the Zerg. And even now, more Kagrins coming down, presumably for Larvosks. Tier 2 coming at 8 minutes and 45 seconds. That is looking pretty good for Hamster, honestly. I'm liking his situation. Double Larvos coming for Veek. And the Phalanx is on the way. Okay. Another Stockade as well. Maybe it's going to be like double Stockade Vestry, just pumping Clerics, maybe 1 or 2 Shamans, and trying to have a powerful amount of mech units. As soon as he gets the Vespian, after that quarry is paid for, so to speak, I'd love to see him add another Palladium so he can get even more Phalanxes per round, but we'll see what happens, because Veek is charging into the middle of the map. He wants to flank around and attack the third base, and there is no map control here for the Terran. No mines laid, no structures, no scout, so this is going to catch him by surprise, and Veek's army is pretty scary right now. So, you know, if he attacks at the right timing, which it looks like it's about to happen, sure, you get the Phalanx deployed, but the Anchor has only just now been started, so there's not really going to be too much here as the Ancials try to come on back and see if they can defend what's happening over here, but the Lakizilisks just immediately start melting the Phalanx through the Ancial energy. Treasury is going to go ahead and get lifted off. The Quarry is not able to get emergency detonated. It was a nice idea. You can detonate your add-ons if you let them go for 5 seconds. But the Atlas is done now, so Sentinels can get started. We've got the Hydra then coming up. 21 pairs of Zeths. That is a lot of Zethra-cores. You can tell that Veek wants to maybe charge in and maybe do some friendly fire with the Phalanxes, maybe do some Mind Drags again. He did cancel the third for now. The Treasury is going to get repaired, so it'll be fine. Mantle's coming online now, at least one. And we've got some Hurricanes being added to the front line as well with extra stockades. Okay, so we're going to have some peel and some ability to roast all these Zeths. You know, something for the Cyclops to stay alive for. Because you can peel for the Phalanx with Cyclops, but you need something to peel for the Cyclops at this stage of the game, or they're all going to be as good as dead, especially at this low count. Fourth base now going to be coming online for Veek. At least he's going to go ahead and put it up there. His Hydra Den is nearly complete. He's definitely thinking about charging forward, but he has enough Vespene to tier up, so he might get kind of timing tier, where he's thinking to himself, I gotta spend this gas and get the tier up as soon as possible, but I also have to attack while I still can. Amazing stun onto Hamster's army there, courtesy of Veek 7. He's going to charge forward and get another good one, but that was more on his units. Not able to capitalize on that just yet, and his front line is fast dissipating with the Cyclops, the Phalanx, the Hurricanes, all the splash damage. Sure, he's got a lot of Lachesis, but he's not really going to be able to advance on this position for free. Another Phalanx finishes just as the first one dies. We got one on the high ground here and a perfect opportunity to try to stab out against that. But the Anciel needs to reveal those bad boys, otherwise these Masons are as good as dead. What's Hamster's call as the Mantle finishes? A Cataphract is in production. More units going to be queued up here. Hamster desperately trying to spend his money. The Anciel's allowing the Phalanx to do plenty of splash damage. There's so much gas being lost here. Hydra's on the front line, but he's not going to tier up. He's going for the tier 1.5. Veek wants to end this game now, or at least sooner. I think that might be a little bit of a mistake, because I don't know how deep he got into this area. He didn't scout that the Mantle is in, so he doesn't know that his opponent is at tier 2. Admittedly, Tier 2 is not being actuated too much. He's got one production structure, making one unit at a time, and those units take a long time to make. So, it's not really the end of the world here, but I do feel like at this point, I don't know, I feel like Hamster's held on even though he's down a base. He's down kind of 2 bases almost, since he's barely saturated this, you know? But he's got a strong army, and he hasn't really lost that many military units. And a lot of these Bactylisks are halfway done making. I think most of Veek's army is going to evaporate before the actual DPS can come out. And so now he's in a real rough spot where all his front line is gone. He's fallen back to the eggs, where Cyclopses are getting a lot of random chip damage onto those Bactylisks, but they will get fully healed after. Bit of a counterattack here with the Lachesis, trying to get in and see if they can pick all the workers. This could be a brilliant move from Veek, but remember that when you stand on top of units, you reveal them if they're burrowed, and it looks like those will not be as successful as Veek wanted them to be. We got to still monitor them. There's nothing over here to defend in the main. A single Hurricane is not going to be enough. The Masons start biting. Oh, look at that. He is going to get taken down after all. And you know what? It did stop the aggression from continuing. I don't know that Veek was going to be able to riposte that attack very easily. So good stuff there from from both players really, but Veek denying Hamster the ability to charge in easily. And as of right now, we do have plenty of Bactylisks. Veek 7 doing his best to keep things going. He started to make a lot of Zethra-cores, but then he canceled them, made Zorius instead. Okay. Capping the gas. Now we're going to see a little bit more usage of the tier 2. Looks like that's just in the main's already done, so capping the gas in the natural for Hamster. Ministry for the 4th base coming online. It feels like somehow he's attacking his own... Something was attacking his own unit. His own Phalanxes are attacking his own Phalanx. That's an awkward move. All right. Veek 7 trying to split up so he can maybe do some kind of attack downwards. Scouting, realizing, okay, there's no 4th base just yet. There's actually not very much over here to protect. The one Hydra could come in and heckle a little bit, but like an AI attack almost. But there it is. All right, this is a potentially really good engagement here for Veek. He's got to watch out for the Phalanx splash, trying to commit onto them. The Anciel's not in a good position to actually defend these tanks, and they are going to start to fall away. A great surround over here for Veek 7, and that is going to be a crippling loss for our Terran player. He hasn't actually stopped this Hydra from killing stuff, so that's already doing some damage, which is pretty funny. And the Cataphracts are very low on the HP amount, not able to damage the rest of the army. And honestly, I think Hamster, he might have made a bit of an error there by not scouting a little bit further forward. how is he possibly going to defend? He's got almost 2,000 minerals in the bank, and he was not able to make enough units. If those were all Ramses or Cataphracts, he would have been in a much better position. How many bases? Veek says 5, but he hasn't actually saturated that one, so that's a little bit of a fraud. But GG. That's it. Iris only just now started. Veek with a 2-0. That second game felt like robbery. Hamster definitely should have had that. I wonder really what went wrong, because Veek had a couple of small little heckling moments that maybe just were a little bit too much for Hamster's Terran to feel comfortable reposting. I've seen him deal with that kind of stuff a lot better with the other races. But yeah, Hamster dropping both of those matches. The first one, okay, it makes sense, right? The Acantor harassment definitely helped out. And it was a bit of an experimental build. The second one, it felt like maybe Hamster just didn't really use his tech advantage too much. We saw no Sentinels. We saw very limited tier 2 production. We did see the gas caps. That was good. But we didn't really see him use that money for anything in particular. So definitely something he needs to work on in the future. But hey, that's it for me. That's the game. Hope you guys enjoyed that set of matches between Veek and Hamster. Commiserations to Hamster, who has fallen. And here's hoping Veek can do a little bit better when it comes to his series against Arbuz, which we will cast tomorrow. So GG's for that one. And yeah, see you guys soon. Peace.